The storm of war raged across the galaxy, and the planet Veleth was no stranger to its fury. A strategic world at the edge of Federation space, its value was undeniable. Minerals, technology, and an ancient alien structure buried beneath its surface made it a prize worth dying for. Yet none had ever come close to conquering it, because of one single figure: Commander Sira Vex. Sira was an enigma, a warrior who had earned her reputation as a beast on the battlefield. Her name struck fear into the hearts of soldiers from every faction that opposed the Federation. Clad in black armor adorned with the insignia of the Vex Legion, she led her forces with an iron fist, her tactical genius rivaled only by her ferocity. Her face was a mystery to most, hidden behind a sleek helmet, her voice amplified through the comms as she issued commands with chilling precision. To her enemies, she was a myth, a legend, a harbinger of destruction. But for all her prowess, there was one thing she could not control: her obsession. It was a fire that burned within her, a relentless drive to prove herself, to conquer not just planets, but the galaxy itself. She had never been defeated. No army had ever broken her lines. No fleet had ever breached her defenses. She was the unassailable. Then came Raiden Korv. Raiden was not a legend. He was not a myth. He was a soldier, human, with no extraordinary gifts beyond a razor-sharp mind and an almost unshakable resolve. He had heard of Commander Vex, of course. Everyone had. But his path was not to battle her directly. No, his assignment was different. His mission was far subtler. The war was long, and its toll was immeasurable. Raiden was tasked with infiltrating Veleth's command structure and dismantling it from within. He was good at his job. A master of espionage and manipulation, Raiden had infiltrated enemy ranks before. But nothing could have prepared him for the battlefield when it came time for his mission to take a different turn. Undercover, he had worked his way into the ranks of the Vex Legion. He knew her. He knew her tactics, her soldiers, and most importantly, her weaknesses. One evening, while the stars above Veleth's sky bled orange and purple from the setting sun, Raiden stood in the middle of the battlefield, his pulse quickening. He was about to see her for the first time, not as a commander issuing orders, but as a legend in action. The battle had reached a fever pitch, Federation forces pushing against Vex's iron grip on the planet. Raiden's mission was simple: find the heart of her command structure, identify weaknesses, and break the chain of command. But the battlefield was alive, an orchestra of destruction playing its deadly symphony. Raiden moved in the shadows, unnoticed, as he observed the monstrous spectacle unfolding before him. Then, in the distance, he saw her. Sira Vex stood tall, her imposing figure a silhouette against the carnage. Her soldiers fell around her, but she did not flinch. She swept across the battlefield, cutting down enemies with lethal precision. Her weapon, an oversized plasma sword, was an extension of her very being, a dance of death as it cleaved through armor and flesh alike. Raiden felt a chill run down his spine. It wasn't fear, it was respect. This was the woman who had destroyed armies and shattered fleets. This was the beast on the battlefield. And he, Raiden, was the man who had to bring her down. But as he watched her fight, something stirred within him. Sira was not the machine he had been led to believe. She was a warrior, yes, but beneath the mask of iron and blood, there was something more. There was humanity, a rawness that Raiden had not anticipated. Her movements were not just calculated. They were driven by something deeper, something personal. She was not fighting for glory, but for survival. And perhaps for something more elusive, a purpose. Raiden didn't know what it was, but he could see it in her eyes. It was the one thing he had never expected to find. Vulnerability. The thought lingered in his mind as he continued his mission, but he couldn't shake it. The idea of taking her down was more complicated than he had imagined. She was not a faceless enemy. She was not some distant command figure. It was real. As the days passed, Raiden's internal conflict grew. He continued his mission, but the more he uncovered about Sira's command, the more he realized she wasn't just the monster he had been briefed about. She was a leader, someone who inspired loyalty in her soldiers, who cared deeply for her people. Even when she wasn't on the front lines, she strategized tirelessly, ensuring their success. There was honor in her war. Yet, despite his growing admiration for her, Raiden knew what had to be done. The Federation could not lose Veleth, and Sira was the only thing standing in their way. He had to destroy her to break her, before her army consumed everything. One night Raiden's opportunity came. A covert strike by Federation forces had breached the Vex Legion's outer defenses, and Sira was ordered to lead a counteroffensive. Raiden knew she would be out there, in the thick of the fighting. He prepared himself not just for the battle, but for the confrontation that would come. It was now or never. He infiltrated the command post where she would be, positioning himself in the shadows. He would have to get close, very close, before making his move. As the battle raged outside, the air inside the command room was thick with tension. The officers around her were on edge, awaiting her orders. And when she spoke, her voice was like thunder. "Move out. We strike them where they think they are safe." Raiden's heart beat loudly in his chest as he approached her. The room seemed to hold its breath. This was it. He couldn't afford to hesitate. Before he could act, however, Sira turned, her eyes locking onto his. There was no surprise in her gaze, only recognition. "Raiden Korv," she said calmly, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "I knew you were among us." Raiden froze, his mind racing. How had she known? "You're good," Sira continued, her gaze never leaving his. "I've been watching you too. But I don't think you understand why you're here, or what you're truly up against." Raiden hesitated. The moment had come, but the words he had rehearsed felt hollow in his mouth. Sira stepped forward, her figure towering over him, and for the first time, Raiden saw the full weight of her presence. She was more than a soldier. She was a force of nature. "Tell me, Raiden," she said, her voice soft yet laced with authority. "Do you really think you can defeat me?" Raiden swallowed hard. "I'm not here to defeat you," he said, voice barely a whisper. "I'm here to make you kneel." For the first time in the years he had known her, Sira smiled. It was not a mocking smile, nor one of arrogance. It was something else, something deeper. "You may think you've come here to end me," she said, her voice calm. "But the truth is, the only person you need to conquer is yourself. Because in the end, no weapon, no army, no strategy can defeat someone who has nothing left to lose." Raiden stood in silence, realizing the truth of her words. He had come to kill her, to break her. But what Sira had shown him in that moment was that the real battle was not on the battlefield. It was within himself. Sira Vex was not just a beast on the battlefield. She was a mirror to his own struggle, and in facing her, he had to confront his own demons. And in that realization, he did not make her kneel.